Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore. We'll be talking about Garth One Eye. Now,
Hmm.
Garth One Eye was originally known as, he was a kid named Galen. And so, it is worth mentioning, Garth One Eye was the first protagonist in magic lore.
Really?
Like, not chronologically as far as like the lore itself is considered, but as far as a book published with the magic plot in mind. Garth's your boy. So, what's really cool about Garth is that, first off, he comes from a blue-green house. Ur-Tail. But the Ur-Tail were then destroyed by a guy named Cuthuman, who was the Grand Master of the Arena of Estark. There's a lot of these ofs and stuff, so I'm going to try and keep it as low to a minimum as I can while recounting the story. So, The whole deal was that Cuthuman wanted to become a planeswalker. And at the time, what it meant to be a planeswalker was super, super unclear. This was the olden days, before any lore people had really solidified what anything actually meant.
Lore people, air people.
Garth was 5 years old. And during the Night of Fire, which is what when everything went down, a guy named Zerel, who was a servant of Cuthuman, gouged out his left eye specifically to mess with his dad, to mess with Garth's dad. And everyone thought that Garth died because he ran into the burning house, and he actually survived. He spent 20 years in exile, and then he came back. At the time, he was known as Galen when he was a little kid. So basically 25 years old, he calls himself Garth, and he shows up at the new Grandmaster, Zerel, the guy who had basically done all those terrible things to him when he was a kid, right? So he goes to Zerel, and he says, look, if I can win the tournament, I'm going to talk to Cuthuman, and basically that's just what happens. He goes in, he's in the arena fights, and there's all these different things happening, and he shows that he's really, really good at fighting people. I'm going to skip over a lot of that. If you really want to, you have to just get the original story and work around that.
Oh yeah, that'll be easy to find.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing to find. I mean, the name of the book is Arena. That's the original book that he came out in, was this
Magic
Arena.
the Gathering Arena?
Actually, yes, and that is why Magic the Gathering Arena is called Magic the Gathering Arena, is because of this character, which is kind of crazy. So, anyways, while this is all happening, he actually, being blue-green, can steal spells. Because blue had a lot more theft effects, right? And so his whole deal was that, and green can produce any color of mana. So using that, he could steal and use any spell somebody else used against him. So the whole deal for Garth is that he had a huge repertoire of things that he could use. Repertoire?
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Now, he actually steals the ability to planeswalk from somebody. Because at the time, it was super easy to do that. There was just a spell for everything, including planeswalking.
It was even more convoluted than old planeswalkers.
Yeah. Because, like, think about it this way. And somewhere in Strixhaven, there's probably a book dedicated to Garth One Eye that has a now defunct and unusable spell for planeswalking. Since the nature of the spark changed and everything. So,
is that why he's a legendary creature then, since his planeswalker abilities were stolen and dispelled?
Not quite. We'll get there, Joe. We'll get there. So, what's happening at this point is that Garth has become so good at fighting that he's like, you know what? I'm done planeswalking. I've fallen in love with this warrior woman, Noreen. And so he marries Noreen, and he kind of just lives in the countryside of Gish. And while he's there, he has a kid. His name is Hammond. He grows a vineyard. He basically just becomes a farmer man. Farmer? Just becomes a farmer. And so he does that, and he then decides, you know what? I want to go planeswalk again. I'm just going to do it real quick. Pop in and out, 10-minute adventure. It'll be great. And he shows back up, and Noreen and Hammond, his son, have both been kidnapped and been brought to Benalia, which at the time had a very strict caste system. And the whole reason Noreen was doing what she was doing, becoming a warrior, was to get out of the caste system that basically made her the lowest of the low. So it turns out that Noreen was specifically being told to kill Gull and Greensleeves, who were two other protagonists. So Noreen is told that she needs to kill, start a fight between Gull and Greensleeves, who are these two extremely powerful wizards, and would go on to be basically the main character. Greensleeves, at least, would become the main characters of the next trilogy of stories after Arena takes place. It was kind of a setup.
Neat.
Now, what's important here is to note that Noreen, being a warrior, she basically started training Gull and Greensleeves' armies to like discipline them so that they could take down the corrupt everything that was going on everywhere else. So that's pretty cool. In addition, though, Noreen is not going to take what just happened lying down. She doesn't, like Garth planeswalked. He had already promised he was no longer going to be planeswalking, right?
We're not gonna take it.
So she says,
no, we ain't gonna take it.
So she tells him,
we're not gonna take it.
Noreen then confronts Garth and basically tells him, look, you planeswalked. You said you wouldn't. You promised you wouldn't planeswalk. Because you did, you put me and our son in danger. It's entirely your fault. And Garth is like, you know what? It was. I admit that. I'm sorry. And you know what? He reaches, takes off his satchel, because obviously spell satchel. If you look at his artwork, I don't know if you can actually see a spell satchel, but it looks like maybe his vest could be a satchel in disguise. The artwork is very dark. I can't really tell. But what's important...
Yeah. His main thing is background.
Yeah. So what's important about him is that he says, here, Greensleeves, take my satchel, take all the knowledge I know. He like just tells them, this is everything that I know about the multiverse, about everything about Dominaria, all that stuff. You can use this to better your people. Me and my family, we're going to go back to my vineyard. And if you ever need our help, I'll be there.
So basically he's like, we've got the right to choose it. This is the way we lose it. This is our right. This is our song.
And so here's something interesting. Garth, remember how he stole the Planeswalker Spark, Joe?
Yeah.
He didn't steal the spark. He stole the spell to Planeswalk. And so what they did is in the modern age, they kind of revised it. And they said that while he did steal that spell, he had a spark. And in this, there was a recap that was released for all the legends from this set. Uh-huh. They said his spark ignited when he killed Zarel.
Okay.
So that was when it actually happened. Once he had gotten to the top of everything and he was able to kill Zarel after defeating Kuthaman, that was when he ignited. And that's when he became like a legit planeswalker. He's very much in the past, so there's a ton of stuff that could be at any time.
They had to very much errata it. So this was like their first story. So they were like, okay, so this isn't how planeswalkers work at all. Not even old planeswalkers. So we need to do some errata.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at his card, it's oozing with the flavor. The fact that you can just tap him and then you get one of the things, including Black Lotus, is super cool. As I mentioned, he's from the blue greenhouse, but he's 5 colors because he can cast all 5 colors. And if we were to see a second Garth One-Eye, which I highly doubt we would, he would most likely be a green-blue planeswalker. Because
this Garth One-Eye is amazing, though.
Yeah. And it depicts him before his spark ignites after killing Zarel. But this episode was dedicated to Garth One-Eye because Garth One-Eye deserves it, even if his story isn't particularly complex, or I'd say it wasn't the most interesting story, but I feel like it was
sentimental.
Yes, it has a very big historical purpose,
and they've come a long way since then, and then really downgraded, and then started to get back up there again.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Joe, take it away.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time. Go ahead and leave a like if you're not going to take it, and subscribe for more legendary lore.
Awesome.